The following is a presentation of Turner Sports.
The middle of July in Pocono, Pennsylvania, and the heat is on. A very sultry Saturday afternoon. Great to have you with us here on TBS Sports for the ARCA 150 today, the Syracuse Grand Prix. ARCA 150, good crowd on hand, 37 cars ready to go. Let's meet the pole sitter with Randy Pemberton.
Well, it's not an unfamiliar spot for this gentleman. It's Mike Wallace. There was a rain makeup ARCA race here on Thursday. He was on the pole, won the race, qualified again for this one today, on the pole once again. Mike, it's a brand new car. You just shook it down on Thursday. She was great then. What about today? Can you win this one?
Well, we hope so. You know, it's the exact same car we had, Randy, and we didn't test it yesterday. We worked on our Winston Cup car all day, so the car is exactly the same way we raced it on Thursday. And, you know, we won in pretty convincing manner the other day. So hopefully we can do it again and take it home for the Klausner Furniture folks and all their employees and everybody and have a good day.
Okay, the only thing that's different here today, the track conditions could be a little different. It's a little hotter out. Now let's go to the outside of row one with Steve Burns, who's working alongside me today. Steve?
Randy, I'm with Gary Bradbury. As you said, the outside pole sitter. He's in the Rulo brothers car. This is a one-race deal. Gary, what can you do today?
Well, I tell you, we've had a really fast car all week. We've had a couple of motor problems and everything, and in fact, we put in another motor in the car this morning, right prior to this race, and the pet food giant Chevy, Hill, Science Type, Heinz, Chevrolet. I hope we have a good finish here today. You know, everybody's really worked hard. We've changed several motors, changed the motor in Joe's car Thursday, so everybody's worked hard, and we're looking for a really good finish, maybe a win.
Let's go to the third member of our broadcast team here on pit road, the crew chief, Larry McReynolds.
Thanks, Steve. I'm back here on the 8th row with the ARCA Series points leader, Andy Hillenberg. Andy, you're starting a little deep in the field. You got a 50-point lead. We're just past the halfway point of the season. What kind of strategy to do? Do you go to race to win, or do you race this points?
Well, I think, you know, we'll stick with the strategy we've had all year and race for the win and, you know, see where we're at as we go through the race. And, you know, if we're struggling a little bit like we were the last race, and, you know, yeah, we might start thinking points. But at the beginning of this race, I'm thinking nothing but win, Larry.
Okay, we'll keep an eye on him. It's getting hotter down here as the day goes on. Let's go up to Rick.
Nice and breezy, though, on the roof. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Rick Benjamin with Darrell Waltrip live on TBS Sports. Great to have you with us today for the Syracuse Grand Prix ARCA 150. DW, is this as hot as you can remember it at Pocono?
Well, it is here at Pocono. You know, it's over 100 degrees. Track temperature's about 135. It's a miserable day for racing. The ARCA people have allowed these guys to take their right side window out, which will let a little bit more air in the car. They got the option of sticking their hand out down these long straightaways to get a little bit more air in the car. So everybody's going to have to use their head today because it's going to be hard on the driver.
And the racetrack conditions could be very interesting. A lot of running's been done by 3 different kinds of cars this week.
We were out this morning for an hour morning practice, and this track right now is as slick as I've ever seen it, particularly in the turn 3 area. All the engines that have blown here in the last 3 or 4 days, all the rubber that's been laid down, all the droppings from the race cars themselves have made this a very treacherous racetrack. Plus, this track is it's a rough racetrack. The cars bounce around, move around a lot here. Grip's going to be a big factor in this race.
We'll tell you those stories and much more when we come back to Pocono. Cars have fired on pit road. They're going to be moving out for a couple of pace laps. We'll be back to show you all the action coming up.
The ARCA 150 is brought to you by Texaco Havilland Formula 3 Motor Oil. Add more life to your car. Take it to the star. By AutoZone, the best parts in auto parts. By Purolator, legends live on Purolator. And by Beechwood Aged Budweiser, the king of beers. This Bud's for you.
Welcome back live to Pocono. Good to have you with us today for the ARCA 150. Let's show you our Havilland starting grid as we get ready to get one to go on the racetrack. On the pole, you met Mike Wallace in the car number 90, the very own Ford. New record for him today. Gary Bradbury will start alongside of the Rulo brothers Chevrolet. Your second row, Ed Barrier, coming back to the ARCA Series in a Ford. Tim Steele, who's won several of these ARCA events. Mark Thompson and Blaze Alexander will make up the third row. Young Blaze, only 19 years of age, finished 5th here the other day. Doug Reed, the third out of Alabama, and the 05 car, and L.W. Miller, who raced in the Busch Series earlier this year. He'll be the 4th row. Bob Schacht in his Ford, and Bobby Voucher, the defending ARCA Series champion, in the 5th row. 6th row, Bob Hill from Iowa. Ron Burchett in a Pontiac, one of 3 in the field today. And your 7th row, C.W. Smith Chevrolet, the 28. Frank Kimmel in the Oldsmobile, the 02. Kimmel, the Papa John's pizza car. 8th row looks like this. Sandy Hillenberg, 2 victories on the season, and he's your current point leader. And modified veteran Bobby Gerhardt in his Chevrolet. Row number 9 will look like this. Mike Gowdy in car number 89. And Shane Doles in the 97. That's a Pontiac. He ran well here on Thursday. 10th row, Dill Whittemore in an Olds, and Ed Dixon in the Kenny Schrader Chevrolet, the 52. He's had some good runs of late. And your 11th row, Bill Venturini, a series veteran in his car number 25. And Gary Weinbrower, one of the Oldsmobiles in the show today, the 77 car. 12th row, Perry Tripp from the Midwest, and Jerry Hill from La Plata, Maryland. And the 13th row as we get ready to bring him around turn 3. Mark Gibson and Dale Kern. Gibson, an interesting story, and the only Dodge. And we'll show you the balance of the field. Sprint car veteran Lenny Krautheim and Glenn Brewer. And the 16th row, Jeff Marmack and Jeff McClure taking over Billy Venturini's car. 17th row, John Stratman and Glenn Miller. Pace truck is in. We're about ready to go here at Pocono. Harris Devane and David Hall will round out the field here today with Bob Dodds. Darrell Waltrip, they're heading down toward the Indianapolis turn here at Pocono International Raceway.
Yeah, they're getting ready to head down one of the longest straightaways in racing here at Pocono. And, of course, you know, they're running on the Hoosier tires. They have a tire rule in this series. They run on the Hoosier tires, and it's probably a fairly conservative tire. So these conditions today will not be what the tires are like. They're pretty hard tires for this racetrack.
And you're saying you expect this to be a pretty slick race course?
I expect it to be pretty slick. I guess only thing hotter here today than the weather is the man on the podium. He was hot to trot here last Thursday, ran off and left everybody, and I think that's what people expect to happen again today.
As we take a look at the cars coming out of turn 3, Wallace qualifying about half a second quicker than the outside pole sitter. Green flag is out. Great to have you with us at Pocono. Wallace takes him down toward turn number 1.
Well, when you take off like that, that's a bad sign already for everybody else, because he just jumped out to about a 10-car length lead there on the drop.
Mike Wallace, as we see Gary Bradbury dropping off to 3rd. Everybody away cleanly. They shuffle it up down into turn number 1. We see Ed Dixon there, Kenny Schrader's 52 into the first corner. Your leaders out of that first turn, down the short straightaway, heading toward the tunnel turn. Is this the most difficult part of the racetrack, setting up for the tunnel properly?
Yeah, you know, you don't want to go in there side by side. That hardly ever happens. You see those 2 cars, 16 and 39, over side by side. You don't want that to happen because there's not enough room for 2 cars through there. The cars are pushy loose right there. They're a little loose getting in, and then they want to push right to the fence getting off.
Ed Barrier in second spot there in the white automobile, the car number 4, Tim Steele, who ran so well in the ARCA Series a couple of years back, moving back into it really in the middle portion of last year. That's the red number 16. He is 3rd. And the 4th place car, Gary Bradbury in the Rulo Brothers Chevrolet, as they complete the first lap. Steele trying to make a move on the inside for second spot.
Yeah, when they get side by side like that behind Wallace now, that'll give him somewhat of an advantage. But Tim Steele looks pretty racy right now, and this is already a better race than I saw on Thursday, because on Thursday, Mikey done got away from him.
And Wallace looked like he might have some problem there. He seemed to be off the pace down into turn 1, but now he started to scoot away again.
Yeah, I think he's being conservative, to tell you the truth. Hard to tell after only 1 lap, but these 2 cats here aren't being conservative.
No.
They're going right after each other.
Steele started 4th, Barrier started 3rd. Steele with career victories, 3 of them, Talladega, Pocono, and Winchester at this point in his still relatively young stock car career.
Richard, I don't know. I think something. The 90 car looks a little tight. It looks like it's a little pushy for Mike right now, and he's not driving off like I'd expected him to.
Wallace, though, still your leader, qualifying past everybody easily here the other day as they come off the 3rd corner and head back onto the main straightaway. And 1 car already off the pace. It's the 89 automobile. That's the car being driven today by Mike Gowdy as we watch the leaders again track down the longest straightaway in stock car racing.
It is. It's also one of the roughest. You watch the cars, they really bounce up and down. You'll see a lot of movement in the front of the car here, and it's just from the track being rough. You can't really shock the car up good enough to stop it from doing that. You just got to let it ride the rough spots.
And we're going to take a look at the battle a little deeper in the pack. The 75 of Bob Schacht. He's got one of our in-car cameras on board today, and he's moving up alongside the number 30 automobile, the car Ron Burchett. Burchett, a former NASCAR Sportsman Series driver, as they race down the short straightaway. You see up ahead there the car Blaze Alexander. And we're going to take a look now. Battle for the lead. Steele working the inside.
Boy, he is, and that's showing a lot of strength right there, because really on Thursday, Mike Wallace had nobody even get close to him, and so this is a real improvement on the 16 car, and we can expect that, Rick, because some of these guys that didn't run well on Thursday are going to make changes to their cars and run better today, I would expect.
Wallace told us in the pre-race that they hadn't worked on the car. They've devoted their attention to their Winston Cup car.
Yeah, and of course conditions are a little hotter. Track's a little slicker, so, you know, the car might not be as good today as it was on Thursday.
Tim Steele blowing right by Mike Wallace to claim the lead, coming from the number 4 starting position earlier today, and now Wallace in the position of chaser rather than chasee.
You know, he may have heard my John Markham story.
I was wondering about that. We talked about that this morning a little bit.
They probably told Mike if he runs off like he did on Thursday, they're going to call him in and he's going to talk about fishing.
I think as Bill Sr. once said, I have control of the black flag.
That's right. I can control this race.
Your leader is Steele. Mike Wallace right behind him in second spot, and there is caution on the speedway after only 3 laps of racing. The yellow flag being shown here at Pocono International Raceway. We'll try to get some information on what has brought out this early yellow as we watch the leaders come off of turn number 3, and there is a car stopped. It is the 89 car that we pointed out moments ago down inside the tunnel turn. So the car being driven today, Mike Gowdy in that automobile. He changed numbers on that car coming into today's race, but he was in the show, not for very long today. A hot one in Pocono. Great to have you with us on TBS. 4 laps into the books, and we'll be back. Promotional fees and consideration have been paid by Liquid Wrench with Teflon, the non-flammable spray lubricant with thousands of uses around your home, shop, and car. And by Auto Week, America's only enthusiast weekly. For a 52-week subscription for only $19.95, call now. 1-800-232-1522. And our AutoZone race analysis this Saturday afternoon. We are on a 2.5-mile speedway. 60 laps our distance today. Cars running for just a shade under $100,000 in posted prize money. And last year's pole sitter Tim Steele, who has the lead right now. Mike Wallace out qualifying him this year by just a tick. Jeff Purvis was the winner here 1 year ago. Bob Schacht has won 6 of these events so far. Tim Steele off to a great start. Larry McReynolds, you were talking about how Tim Steele has just got a tremendous effort going here today.
Well, that's right. You know, I talked to Tim Steele on Thursday morning before Thursday's race, and the confidence was there. He just knew that he was going to run good on Thursday. Obviously, he didn't perform to anybody's expectations, especially his own. What they found after the race, though, was the eccentric on the right rear trailing arm, which is what they use to control the steer of the rear end, to get the rear end steered straight. It had come loose and moved back about 1.5 inches. So that's the reason no adjustments they made on Thursday made any difference in the car. I certainly don't want to underestimate Mike Wallace's dominance, but I believe Tim Steele will be a factor today.
He is certainly showing that so far, Darrell, coming from 4th to the lead. We're ready to go green here. This will be the beginning of lap number 6, and Steele looks awful stout.
Yeah, he does. If that rear end housing was moved back that far, there's no way he could drive that car effectively. So he's got it going right now. I tell you, that car is flying.
They come up through the gears, and Steele takes him down the main straightaway. We've completed 10% of this one, and Mike Wallace finding himself looking at the back bumper of that HS Tool and Die Ford at this point. Good run for Ed Barrier in 3rd. We look a little bit deeper back in the field as the cars work into turn 1. We ought to point out that Bill Venturini in car number 25 will show you his progress through the field a little later, but he started 21st today. He's picked up 10 spots so far. Your leaders down the short straightaway to the tunnel turn, and we understand, Randy Pemberton, that Mike Wallace may not have the car he was looking for today.
Well, that is possible, but not according to the pit crew. You know, you find it funny that you want to go find out if there's something wrong with a guy running second after starting on the pole, but he killed them so badly here on Thursday, I thought that we should go in and check on it. I asked Barry Owen, the car owner, is there anything wrong? He said no. He just wants to ride right now. I asked him if the car was tight. It's not tight. He thinks he's all right. He said Tim Steele just wants to lead a lot more than Mike does right now.
And now Mike Wallace says maybe Tim Steele's led long enough.
Yeah. I think what it is, Rick, they listen to TV. They watching TV down there. And Barry called Mike and said, Mike, they think there's something wrong with the car. How about stepping on it here a little bit? Because that car, there can't be anything wrong with that car the way it ran on Thursday. And they haven't done anything to it. So I think Steele has just improved that much. And like I say, Mike's probably sitting there watching him, seeing how good he's going to be, if he's going to have to contend with him or not. Right now, he's got to contend with him.
It sure does. This is quite a test. This is a race for the lead down toward the tunnel turn. You don't want to be side by side through the tunnel, do you?
No, you can't go through there side by side, I don't think. Normally, you don't go through there side by side. Those cars both must be handling awful well for them to be able to do that. And, of course, I believe Mike's being real cautious. And, like I say, Steele's in there, wanting to lead the race. And if they look in the mirror real quick, they're going to see somebody wanting to join them here. I don't like to see these guys run side by side like this because it's really difficult to do.
As slick as you were saying, you think the racetrack is going to be today. Ed Barrier just kind of sitting back there in 3rd spot watching this thing.
Well, the straightaways are so long that he can get a tremendous draft off of those two cars running side by side. So he's going to be able to suck right up to the back of one of them. He's going to have to decide which one he wants to follow here in a second.
he's tried both ways. You just saw him take a look behind Mike Wallace, then go a little higher to look behind Steele. I'm amazed that Steele can stick on the outside through turn 1.
Well, that's just determination. He's carrying that car into the corner a lot harder than Mike is, which tells you that he's driving that car a lot harder than Mike is. Mike's accelerating off the corner, which is what you want here. So I believe Mike's still in the driver's seat. I believe he's just letting old Tim have a little fun.
On a day like this with the high heat, even though these are a little harder compound Hoosier tires, will the tires last throughout this year?
Yeah, they last just fine. Wear is not a factor. That would be a problem.
We're having the privilege today of going along for a ride with Tim Steele and his crew chief. That traffic on the radio you heard was Steele talking to the pits as he's got a challenge from Ed Barrier now out of turn 4.
Yeah, see, he drove his car really hard, Tim did, and he's heated his tires up a little bit more than Ed did, who was sitting back there behind him watching those guys, so he might be able to jump all over Tim and get by him as well.
3 Fords out in front at the moment here at Pocono. Steele from Coopersville, Michigan, and he was the series champion 2 seasons ago, 1993, and great things are expected of him. He had a brief fling in Winston Cup, if you recall, with the Bobby Allison car last year, early in the year. Decided to drop back into ARCA for a while. He's a young man. I believe he's only 21, 22 years old, just starting out.
Yeah, this series is a great training grounds for Winston Cup racing. I almost sometimes think it's better than Busch is, because they run a lot of the same racetracks that the Winston Cup cars do, and these cars are much more comparable to a Winston Cup car than a Busch car is. The wheelbase the same, engines are virtually the same, so very similar.
As we watch some of the leaders work around the 2.5-mile tri-oval here at Pocono International Raceway. We're also along for a ride today with young Blaze Alexander. He is from a town not far from here, Montoursville, Pennsylvania, about 15 miles away, veteran of the Dirt Late Model Wars. He just brushed the wall down the main straightaway.
Yes, he did. And you can see he got his hand on the shifter, Rick.
Yeah.
He's shifting that car into overdrive, actually. What we do here, we shift gears. We're on a Jericho transmission. You run the thing in 3rd gear, that's your 1-to-1 ratio, and then down this long front straightaway, you will actually shift the thing into the 4th gear position, but in fact, it's an overdrive in the transmission. It saves the engines. These engines turn about 85 to 8,800 RPM down this long straightaway. They won't take that all day.
Blaze Alexander up to 5th spot now in his Chevrolet Lumina. We're going to watch him brush the wall just coming out of turn.
You know, Rick, I have to jump in here when they say on TV he brushed the wall. Folks, that's a little bit harder. That's a little bit harder than a brush. That thing jumped up in the air there, so he hit the wall with a pretty good amount of force.
More like a whap than a
whap.
brush.
There you go.
As we take a look at the 2nd place fight going on behind leader Mike Wallace. Tim Steele in the red car is in 2nd spot. Ed Barrier, the white automobile, the 4 car, riding 3rd in the early stages at Pocono. Steve Burns, what's going on in the Tim Steele pit?
Rick, I just talked to his crew chief, Tom Sokolowski. He said he is, in fact, driving the car too hard. The car is tight, and they're going to try and loosen it up as soon as they can get in. Also, Bill Venturini has radioed in and said his car is either pushing or he's got a flat tire. So they're debating whether or not to pit.
Venturini, who had gotten up to 11th off a 21st starting spot in just a few laps, he slipped back. We're showing him in 15th right now. We've been talking about the heat here. It's over 100 degrees air temperature, probably 135 on the racetrack. Tim Steele had some thoughts on how tough it is to run here in the hot conditions. He says it's no problem really for him at all.
The hotter the better for me. The heat don't really bother me. I do a lot of riding around my vehicle at home with the heater on wide open during the summer and get in pretty good shape. The heat don't bother me a bit, I think. I think it might be a factor of some of the guys, but for me, we'll be all right.
Now, I knew race drivers were a different breed, but the heater on full blast in the summer?
Well, it might be a great training device. I'm not sure, but my experience has been to just get all hot and sweaty, and it could cause brain damage even. I don't know. He's a pretty wiry little guy, though. He looks like he's in pretty good shape.
Good battle going on the racetrack. This is for 6th, 7th, and 8th spot. You see Andy Hillenberg in the 11, Mark Thompson in the 66. This is L.W. Miller in the 38. The 38 Special, they're calling this car. And a very familiar sponsor on the flanks of Doug Reed's black Ford there, the 05. Long Lewis Ford from Alabama. That's a Hueytown race.
It is. I've chased that car for many, many years with Fred Farmer behind the wheel, or not that car, but that sponsor, 97.
They're fighting it out for 7th, 8th, and 9th right now as L.W. Miller, who started off the year at Busch Grand National competition, decided he wasn't quite ready, wanted to run some ARCA races for the rest of this season to get some additional experience. He's out there in a heavier race car learning these big tracks, as you talked about.
Well, people really started talking about L.W. when he was running in this ARCA series. He made some real impressive runs with Booby Harrington as his crew chief, and everybody thought he had a real future, and I'm sure he does. But he moved into the Busch Series and didn't have quite the success that he had here in ARCA, so he's back in ARCA to get some more experience.
He just blew by Doug Reed on the outside. That's an excellent battle, and L.W. Miller in the 38 car doing very nicely down into turn 1 now, being shown in 7th spot as Reed drops back a position. And we take a look inside from the 6th place car. This should be the Bob Schacht Automobile 75 car as we work down again toward the tunnel turn at Pocono. If you've never been here, very interesting racetrack. And Darrell, I know you race a couple of road courses in Winston Cup and Watkins Glen and Sears Point. This has to be one of the most challenging layouts you could find.
Well, it creates a lot of problems for the team setting the cars up, but it also has a lot of options. It's a track with a lot of ways to win here. You can have a good handling car and run these flat corners well, and that'll help you. Or you can have a fast car and run these long straightaways well. Or you can get good gas mileage here, which is usually a factor. So you got a lot of options, a lot of ways to win a race here.
One of the drivers we're riding with, Blaze Alexander from Pennsylvania, is Lisa Express Chevrolet with problems. You saw Blaze waving to the other drivers in our in-car camera. They're letting him know he is off the pace. Alexander was running up in 5th spot. So a tough break indeed for the 19-year-old from this area.
You see the damage from getting into the fence off of turn 3 down here a little while ago. That may be what he's coming in for.
We'll find out if he'll be able to keep that car running and bring it back onto the race course. Another car off the pace. This is the 28 of C.W. Smith, and that is a Chevrolet. And Smith just makes the left turn into the infield road course area here at Pocono.
Yeah, they tell you in the driver's meeting that if you have a problem, it's so long, such a long way back to the pits, if you can get off at the road course right there, that they'll help you get back to your pit as soon as possible. That keeps the yellow from coming out and then causing a problem on the racetrack.
Still a great fight for the lead. We'll take you back up front. Mike Wallace in car number 90, your leader. Winner here 2 days ago in the ARCA 150 run on Thursday of this week at Pocono. Making up for the rainout a month ago. Right behind him, Tim Steele in car number 16. And Steele trying every line. He's been up high, he's been down low. Hasn't been able to solve Wallace yet.
No, I tell you, Steele's car is fast. He's got a lot of motor. I think it's got a Robert Yates engine in it, and that thing will go down the straightaway.
Steele digging off of turn 1 there. You get a good look at one of the young guys that a lot of experts think is going to be a factor in NASCAR Winston Cup competition in just in a couple of years, really. I mean, there's so much young talent coming along, Darrell. Where are all these guys going to fit in?
Well, there's a lot of young talent coming along, and there's a lot of old talent out there on the racetrack.
I wasn't saying you were old now. Not at all.
Oh, I wasn't talking about myself. There's been a lot of guys.
There you go. Your leaders working the short straightaway up toward turn 3 at Pocono. It's still in the hands of Mike Wallace. We're 15 laps complete on TBS Sports. Great to have you with us. Back live at Pocono on TBS for the ARCA 150. Blaze Alexander's car, Darrell, apparently with an electrical problem.
Yeah, he didn't pull in there, folks, to go to the bathroom. They're in there working on the thing. They got a problem with the coil or ignition or something. They're trying to take the coil out of their backup car and put in their race car. We watch the 9 car. That's Jack Ely from Bethel, Connecticut, up in my home territory, moving back down pit road and heading out onto the racetrack in his Buick. Yeah, the pit road speed limit here, I think, is around 65 miles an hour. So it looks like they're just creeping when they go down this long pit road.
Almost as long as the 3/4 of a mile main straightaway. And Ely, by the way, was not headed back out of the racetrack. He dove into the garage area, too. Up toward the front of the field, this is Andy Indiana Hillenberg in car number 11 and Mark Thompson in the 66. They're battling it out for 6th spot. Hillenberg, operator of a driving school.
Yeah, they were in Charlotte there. They got a pretty nice deal going on, and we use that school in the fall for all of our Western Auto folks. Take them over there, and it's a great entertainment. They got race cars, and they get out there and learn how to drive a car and find out how tough it is to be a driver. I like that.
I'm sure you do. It is very difficult, and Hillenberg does a nice job with that. So Thompson trying to track him down. Hillenberg, 14 starts in this series, 12 top 10 finishes. Is he a natural? He's not a kid exactly. He's been around a long time, racing sprint cars for a number of years.
Yeah, you know, guys like that, everybody's dream in every other series is to get to Winston Cup racing. And there's 1,000 different ways to do it. And, you know, ARCA is a good stepping stone into something else, into Busch or into Winston Cup. And these guys that have thrashed around these dirt tracks and sprint cars and midgets all their lives, you know, they want to find a better way, and this is a better way.
Those 2 cars still battling. Hillenberg in control, and he is the point leader in this series at the moment with about 8 races to go. Hillenberg also leads the Rookie of the Year standings at this point. Quite a pairing if you can win Rookie of the Year and the series title in the same year. We saw the car Ron Burchett drop out of the event a little while ago. Burchett from in car number 30 of Pontiac. Steve Burns standing by with Mr. Burchett.
Rick, short day for Ron Burchett. What happened, Ron?
We was out there running. I think we really had them covered. The high point betting, signs and designs,
Hardy Brothers truck in Pontiac was really running strong. We was outrunning them into the corner. We was running with them up off the corner. We'd outrun Shaq. I led him by to get in line so we could go on to the front, and the oil pump just, they'd lost power, and then we found out the oil pump locked up, just lost an engine.
Tough day.
Thank you.
Tough day, but great attitude. We had them covered. I mean, what do we run, 10 laps into the race? We had them covered.
He knew.
Yeah, you know, he finished 6th here on Thursday, so he did have a good race car.
Good battle here for 10th position. We're watching Doug Reed in that black Ford, the 05 on the outside, the 97 car. That's Shane Doles, and he is in one of the few Pontiacs in the field, and Doles just went by. So Doles moves into the top 10, had a good run here on Thursday as well, and he starts to stretch it out a little now as they work down the straightaway toward the tunnel turn here at Pocono. We take you through our Napa field standings, our Napa running order this afternoon in the Syracuse Grand Prix ARCA 150 here at Pocono.
You know, Doug Reed in that 05 car, he won the pole at Pensacola here a few weeks ago, back in March, and for the Southern 200. So we know that's a fast car, and of course that's Red Farmer's old car, like I said. Maybe one that Red drove, I don't know.
you never know. As we work that battle deeper in the pack, we're going to show you your leader, Mike Wallace in car number 90. He's gotten out in front by a good margin. Much more to come here at Pocono. We'll be back. Back live at Pocono, one of the contenders today with trouble on pit road. Here's Randy.
Gary Bradbury has pulled the number 39 Pet Food Giant car into the pits. They've had engine troubles all week long. Hard to believe. This is the 4th engine that this team has had in this car since Wednesday, and this is the ARCA Series, so that's amazing. They flew one down here from Chicago last night. It was a short track engine that they run on dirt. It wasn't pulling. They didn't have the power, and now it appears it is given up. So a tough day for Gary Bradbury trying to make a re-entrance into the ARCA Series. Not going to happen for him today.
Yeah, this car only ran 15 laps on Thursday, and with Ruttman, Joe Ruttman drove the car on Thursday, actually, and today got a problem.
Got some trouble on the racetrack. We're going to show it to you in just a moment over toward the tunnel turn as we watch the 24 coast slowly down the speedway. Jeff Marmack in a Chevrolet. Boy, a couple of drivers just split him. He's stuck up into the racing groove there, Darrell.
Oh, this is a terrible place to be sitting because you're in a blind spot. When you come around that tunnel turn, it's almost like a 90-degree turn, and that car, boy, it's a good thing he's as far down that little straightaway as he is, but nobody can see you when you come around the turn there.
Jeff Marmack making his first ever ARCA Supercar Series start, car number 24. It lasts about 25 laps, and an unfortunate situation, maybe just inexperience there, him coming to a stop on the racetrack like that. You hardly ever see that.
I think he spun, Rick, I believe. I saw smoke over there as I was talking, and I looked up, and then we see him sitting in the race car. I believe he spun over the tunnel turn.
Could be a situation where we'll see some of the leaders dive into the pits. There you get a look at just how warm it is here. We're up toward 110 degrees.
Yeah, and that's in the shade. That's on the side of the camera there, and that's in the shade.
That shows you what our technical folks are going through today to bring you these pictures from Pocono International Raceway. We certainly appreciate their efforts. Look at that heat just shimmering off the asphalt on pit road.
It really is. Of course, it doesn't seem to be bothering Mike at all. He's out there. That's exactly where you want to be on a day like this. Out front with the fresh air going to you and the engine in the car keeps everything as cool as possible.
Boy, we're all set.
Mike Wallace talking to Barry Owen and some of his other crew members there, talking about putting a couple of rounds in the right rear, perhaps, if they decide to come in and pit. Only 60 laps here. I would think you'd be able to go with just one stop today, if that.
Yeah, they'll come in.
Just kind of follow the
I guess they'll
right
probably
now.
put 2 tires on. They may put 4 on. I'm not sure if they have a tire rule today or not. I think they'll probably throw 4 fresh tires on that thing, top it off with Union fuel, and they'll be on their way.
Mike Wallace, who wired the field here on Thursday, everybody we talked to said that not only did he have a dominant car, he had a super dominant car. He won this race so easily on Thursday that I'm surprised it's as close as it is today. Tim Steele's been giving him a good battle. Steele still sitting in second spot, and Ed Barrier riding third in the Ford, the number 4. That's the white car. The 75 automobile, Bob Schacht up to fourth spot at this point as some of the leaders head toward pit road. Look at Wallace make that quick dive.
Well, he was trying. It's old Indian trick. You know, he didn't want anybody he wanted them to think he's going to stay out and then dive in at the last second and maybe catch Steele out on the racetrack, but didn't work.
Leaders coming down pit road. Mike Wallace ready to make his first stop of the day, probably his only one. Randy Pemberton.
Well, you're exactly right. They don't need only but a splash of gas, probably about 6 or 7 gallons to go the distance here, 150 miles. To go ahead and change right side tires on his Ford Thunderbird. Now changing rear tires on Thursday was car owner Barry Owen. He has hurt his back. He's not going to do it here today. Car fell off the jack once again. They had a tough pit stop here on Thursday. Lost 45 seconds on the tires. And Mike is gone and away.
20.
McReynolds?
Okay, I'm standing in between the Tim Steele and the Ed Barrier pits. Tim Steele taking on 4 tires, loosening the car up. His car's a little bit tight. Little trouble on the left front, but he's away. Ed Barrier also takes 4 tires on. A lot of trouble on the left side. He's still on the left side jack. No chassis adjustment. Stalls the car. Crew's trying to push him away. Can't get it cranked. They're still pushing it. Finally gets it fired, and he's away. So Tim Steele and Ed Barrier both taking on 4 tires, and they're away.
Didn't see any adjustments to Wallace's car. They were talking about 2 rounds, but I didn't see anybody go for the wrench there. Bill Venturini still on pit road getting service as well. 21 seconds the pit stop for Wallace. We'll be back to take you to Green Flag Racing at Pocono in a moment. You know, when I put my kids on television, you never know what they're liable to do. Look at that spray bottle against Mom.
Oh, he's spraying that guy with that Earnhardt shirt on. That's what he's doing.
You like that. Yeah. You were talking about Mike Wallace and the problems they had on pit road. They had a 46-second stop here Thursday. They've only improved a little bit, DW.
Well, I tell you, this is a driver's worst nightmare. Got a terribly fast car. Watch that guy. The right front man got hit in the head with the jack handle. Now watch the right rear man. He's got the tire loose. Oops, the jack went down. Now what are you doing? Raise the car back up. And everybody has to pick up on the side of the car. They want to make a chassis adjustment, and they want to do 4 tires. But this is such a disaster that all they're really going to have time to do is put 2 tires on this thing and say, get him out of here.
Well, Wallace down and away. It took him 21 seconds and change. Tim Steele's team had some problems also, so he didn't really lose much ground there.
No, but Steele did get 4 tires, so that could be a factor here as we go along.
We're going to take another timeout as we continue under caution at Pocono, not quite to halfway. The Syracuse Grand Prix 150 will explain what that means and more when we come back at Pocono. Welcome back to Pocono International Raceway, live on TBS Sports. Rick Benjamin with Darrell Waltrip, Randy Pemberton, Steve Burns, and Larry McReynolds on pit road today. The ARCA 150, the Syracuse Grand Prix ARCA 150, a race sponsored by another race that's coming up next year in this series.
Yeah, I'd be confused if there wasn't a deer on the racetrack, but I know that means I'm at Pocono, so yeah, it's odd for a race to be sponsoring a race, but I guess there's a first time for everything in this business.
New street race coming on the ARCA Tour next year in Syracuse, New York, and those folks picking up the title sponsorship here today. Mike Wallace leading them out of turn 3. They come up through the gearbox to speed. The green is back out just short of halfway. Wallace way out in front again. Tim Steele in second with a lap car between. And look at how they shuffle him down the main straightaway.
Oh, yeah. Boy, they get 4 and 5 wide down that big wide front straightaway. You know, we were talking about the pit stop of Wallace. I mean, it was a disaster, and I'm sure they'll agree with me. But they also wanted to get him in and out and try to pick up what they have here as a halfway bonus. Auto value parts stores have a halfway bonus of $3,500 and then a $10,000 bonus at the end of the year to the driver who's led the most halfways. So he was thinking dollars, not necessarily how long he was going to be in the pit.
Just wanting to win that 30-lap sprint, not necessarily the 60-lapper at this point.
Yeah, and sometimes that hurts you, Rick, because you start thinking about doing something to win that part of the race and you lose sight of the big picture. So 2 tires is not the way to go, but that car is so fast it may not hurt him.
Quite a battle a little deeper in the pack. Andy Hillenberg in the 11 just getting passed by local driver Bobby Gerhardt in that black 85. That's that new Monte Carlo. Gerhardt, a former ARCA regular, now back on the tour. He just split a couple of cars coming into turn 3. That's a tough move to make at that part of the racetrack.
Well, it really is, and if you get it in there right and you can hang that left wheel right on the white line, it seems like that white line will almost suck the car right down on the apron there, and you can really get a bite off that corner.
18 cars on the lead lap as we passed halfway, and that is a battle for 4th, 5th, and 6th spot that we just showed you there with Hillenberg moving by and Bobby Gerhardt as we take you back into the Bob Schacht automobile. Look at this 3 wide down toward the tunnel turn.
Boy, this is the guy on the inside's got the right of way. I said the guy on the inside has the right of way. Well, he let him go by, so that was a good deal.
L.W. Miller in the Colt 38 there, moving around the outside of Ed Barrier. Barrier's been up front much of the day, slipped back now. This is a battle for 9th and 10th position Berrier had a 46-second pit stop during that caution. That cost him 7 spots, dropping him from 3rd back to 10th. Now Berrier back at him down low.
Yeah, when you go in on the outside of turn 3 there like that, he had to leave the 4 car enough for him to get in the corner. And it's just a little slick on the outside of that turn, and you'll slide out, and the guy will go right back by you.
Berrier now moving up to 8th, being shown in 8th position as we start the second half of our 150-miler here today. This, of course, a prelude to tomorrow's Miller Genuine Draft 500 here at Pocono that you'll see live on TBS, the NASCAR Winston Cup Series, 1:05 Eastern Time. We trust you'll be with us for that. And a fellow named Waltrip thinks he's got a pretty good horse for that one tomorrow.
Yeah, our car's really running well. We've practiced well. We've qualified good. And, you know, we had such a disaster here the first race. Didn't get to run the race. Just started, took the green and fell out. So we're looking forward to a good day on tomorrow.
A couple of good days being had here by the 16 of Tim Steele, who is chasing the leader, Mike Wallace. Now, Steele did lead a lap early in the go here today, and he looks like he wants it back.
Well, I think the 4 tires versus the 2 tires could be the difference right now. And, of course, this thing went green the rest of the way. That can make a tremendous difference. And not only that, Steele's not going to have to come back in again for tires because he took 4. If there was another caution and Mike's getting outrun, he's going to have to come in and start way back behind all 18 of those cars. So he may have jeopardized the chance to win this race to pick up that halfway money.
And Steele just moves by down low, nice as you please, into turn 1. Now Wallace comes back at him as he has a little advantage. Wallace's car is working super strong down in that low groove.
It is. The 2 totally different packages here. Tim Steele's car's getting into the corner really well. He can drive by Mike on the outside getting in, but it won't stay down. It's too tight. The front end won't turn. Wallace, on the other hand, is accelerating really well up off the corner, and that's the better of the 2 situations.
But if Steele has a little more motor on that long straightaway, that could tell the story if we get down to a last lap battle.
Yeah, but he's going to use his tires more, doing it the way he's doing it. He's having to fight the thing and drive it in a little harder, and you know he can keep up for a little while. But I'd say Mike's probably still got the better of the 2 cars.
At the moment, that's certainly the way it looks. Your Klausner Furniture number 90, Mike Wallace, will also be in the field here tomorrow for our Miller Genuine Draft 500. Take a look a little further back in the field. Bob Schacht has moved up. He's being shown in 3rd position with Hillenberg. Got to battle a little further back in the racetrack now, but this battle for the lead has been a dandy much of the way here this afternoon at Pocono.
You know, Schacht has started 17 races here at Pocono, and I think he's won 6 of them. He's had a phenomenal string of success here, and he always runs well here.
Certainly he does, and there are a lot of these drivers. One of the things about the ARCA Series that I think is so interesting is the variety of racetracks they run on, not just the speedways like Pocono and Talladega, Daytona, and Atlanta, but some really short tracks, super short tracks like Flat Rock, Michigan, and Kilcare in Ohio. You were telling me before what Kilcare looks like.
Oh, yeah, it's about a 7-turn oval. And you go uphill and downhill, and it's a real trick. You know, you see the motor difference here. Not saying that Mike doesn't have a good engine. The same guy may have built them both. I don't know. But Steele's car just flies down that straightaway, and he's able to catch Mike at the end of the straightaway and drive by him in most cases. But Mike still beats him off the corner. Could be difference in the gearing, too.
Only 5 cars out of the chase so far here this afternoon. 32 cars still in competition here at Pocono International Raceway. And one of the cars that apparently running into some problems, we'll take a look hopefully at Bill Venturini in a moment. He was running very strong early on here today, but has had a couple of problems. Venturini will be coming around to the pits very, very slowly. A couple of the top engine builders, Darrell, as you suggested, putting motors in these 2 lead cars.
Yeah, I think that's pretty interesting. The 90 car has a Robert Yates engine in it, and the 16 car has an Ernie Elliott engine in it. So Ernie built, of course, Bill Elliott's motor. He's on the pole here for this race. And we know Ernie and Robert both can make a lot of horsepower. So that's the best of the best right there.
And we take a look at the Bill Venturini Chevrolet, one of the Monte Carlos in the field here today, the All-Pro Auto Parts Nestle's quick car. Moving slowly down on pit road. We'll try to find out what's happened to Venturini's car. Talk about a guy who's an ARCA veteran. He must be very high on the all-time start list in this series. As we look down the main straightaway, coming at you here, a dogfight for 6th position. Ed Berrier holds the spot right now in the white automobile. He's trying to move up on Bobby Gerhardt's 85. That's the black Monte Carlo you see there. This is a battle actually for 5th spot as they race into turn 1.
Yeah, you know, that's the thing about this speedway. Again, it's as you see here, one guy can be fast down the straightaway, and the other guy can be fast in the corners, and it ends up being a heck of a race because they just end up passing each other back and forth.
Berrier now gets by Gerhardt. Mark Thompson right there in your picture as well in the 66 car. Berrier putting on an awfully strong run in his return to ARCA competition today, his first start of the season, as those cars move off the tunnel and head down the short straightaway toward turn 3.
Yeah, we got the 21 car in the pit, and I know that's unscheduled. Maybe somebody can find out down there in the pit what's going on. They got the hood going up, looks like.
Battle for the top spot down the main straightaway. Meantime, into turn 1, Wallace down low. He's led much of the way in that car with the green nose. Steele in the red Ford, the 16 up high. These two have really been going at each other. And again, Steele just pulls him at the end, but it doesn't look like it's going to be good enough.
No, if you look at Wallace's car that time, it got loose on him right in the middle of that corner, and it allowed Steele to get on the outside of him. So I still got to think the 2 tires is going to give up compared to the 4 tires that Steele took on.
Should Steele be more patient here?
No, it's a 60-lap race, you know, and we're well over halfway. If you got anything, you better use it, because this sucker will be over here before you know it.
Door to door down the short straightaway at Pocono International Raceway. Your 2 leaders race into turn 3. Wallace on the inside with the advantage for the moment as they get ready to come up onto the long main straightaway. And as we've seen so many times here, Steele with the stronger pull at the end of the long straight.
Yeah, I think this is really a good example of handling versus horsepower. The 90 car is handling very well, and the 16 car's got a lot of horsepower, and they can just have this tremendous battle back and forth.
And another good battle on the racetrack. This is for 4th spot. Ed Barrier to the inside of Andy Hillenberg in the car number 11. Barrier in the white automobile there. Down on the inside of the racetrack at 1, and he gets that position away from Andy Hillenberg, your current series point leader. And again, the lead battle down toward the tunnel turn. It's Steele at the moment.
Yeah, now what should happen here is classic Pocono. He'll go in the corner, he'll shove up, and Mike will come underneath him and beat him down the short chute here into turn 3. Now, that's classic Pocono. This may not be a classic, I'm not sure. They're having a good battle anyway.
They sure are. This very flat turn 3. I've seen many drivers over the years come in there too hard, too high, and get into that wall coming out that corner. That's a tough corner, isn't it?
It really is. That may be, in my opinion, the toughest turn in racing, because you go so fast, 180 and change down that straightaway into basically a 90-degree turn. When you're in that turn or getting into that turn, you can't even see the other side. So, you know, that's where Bobby Allison had his horrendous crash here several years ago, and we've seen some pretty bad wrecks right there in that one spot.
Good battle also a little deeper in the pack. This is for 8th position. L.W. Miller in the 38 and the 02. Frank Kimmel, the Papa John's car. And another car moving right in behind him. That's dirt track veteran Ed Dixon in the Kenny Schrader car, the 52. Dixon shown in 10th spot. Dixon, a former UMP National Late Model champion. And he's doing a good job here in an early Pocono start in Kenny Schrader's automobile. Got a lot more stories to tell you about here at Pocono as we look ahead to tomorrow's 500-miler that you'll see here as well on TBS. All that and more when we come back. You're watching a battle for the lead at Pocono International Raceway live on TBS Sports for the ARCA 150. Rick Benjamin, Darrell Waltrip, Randy Pemberton, and Steve Burns with Larry McReynolds on pit road today. We hope you're enjoying the show. Mike Wallace at the moment finding himself in 2nd behind Tim Steele. One of the drivers we thought was going to be a real factor here today, the defending series champion Bobby Bowser. He had to pull out of the race. He's down in the garage area with Randy Pemberton.
Guys, you would not believe Bobby Bowser has parked his car. He's 2nd in points. And let me tell you something. I said, Bobby, are you okay? He said, it's hot in here. He said, stick your head in this car. I did. I am not kidding you. It has got to be 150, 55 degrees in this car. He could barely stand it. Bobby, are you all right? And what happened to the ventilation in this thing?
I have no idea. I mean, you know, it's just ungodly hot. I couldn't drive it. And I stand more to lose than I do to gain, so we just had to park it and see what we can do. But it's just, you can just feel it's radiant heat. I mean, it's hot.
Man, it is really unbelievable, guys. I've never felt anything that hot, even after a race when I've gotten in some of these other cars. Larry McReynolds, what you got on pit road?
Well, you know, the big talk when Winston Cup teams go to a road course or to Pocono is the Jericho transmission that they use when they have to shift. Now, this is your Borg-Warner T10 that most teams use everywhere else that we go to race. When we do run the Jericho transmission, though, and we do shift, we have to cool the fluid. The hot fluid comes out of this fitting, goes through a cooler, and goes back into the top of the transmission. Now, the question is, why the Jericho when we have to shift and not the Borg-Warner? There's a lot of research and work went into this Jericho after the last few years. It has straight-cut gears, no synchronizer rings, nothing to tear up. Drivers can shift this transmission a lot quicker, and they can do it without even using the clutch. Also, this has just become a more durable transmission overall. It's 6 pounds lighter than the Borg-Warner, plus now it's $400 cheaper. A lot of teams, for example, Rusty Wallace's Penske Miller Ford, has went to using this transmission at all racetracks. My prediction, when you figure durability, weight, and a course cost is this transmission will probably be in all Winston Cup cars for all races in the next couple of years.
Well, that's a good explanation of what the difference is in the transmission. Are these guys worried about shifting now, Darrell?
I don't think that. They're not worried about anything, apparently. These two guys are having a whale of a race. They're side by side in places where you really don't want to get side by side unless you have to. You know, there's only 17 laps to go, so they got to let it all hang out. And believe me, folks, these guys are letting it hang out.
2 leaders moving by the 10 car of Glenn Brewer as we work into the final third of the competition here today at Pocono International Raceway. Steele led a few while we were explaining various things. The heat problem for Bobby Boucher. In other words, now Mike Wallace has reclaimed the lead at this point. You were saying, Darrell, when we were in commercial, if you've got anything to show, there's no point in holding back now.
Yeah, no, there isn't. And the difference in these two cars right now is one of them will get behind the other one, and it loosens the guy that's in front up. The 16 will get up behind the 90 to kind of loosen him up, and he'll fight the wheel to kind of regain control. The 16 will get in front, and the 90 will get behind him. It's making their cars loose when they're behind each other like that. That's why they're swapping around the way they are.
Trouble for a guy who's been in contention all day. Bobby Gerhardt Jr., the Pennsylvania driver, and his Chevrolet, the 85. We check back in another team that's doing very well today, the 38, L.W. Miller, and also working on the Ed Dixon automobile. We saw Miller there being shown right now in 9th with a handful of laps to go. Wallace up front, your leader in car number 90, making his 12th ARCA Bondo Mar-Hyde career start in this ARCA Supercar Series. Bobby Gerhardt is done for the day. He pulls in on the backside of the race course. There are your 2 leaders, Wallace in the 90, Steele in the 16, coming up on 15 laps to go at Pocono. Under caution at Pocono with only 14 laps to go. We showed you Bobby Gerhardt's demise on the back part of the racetrack. Bobby out of the car. You can tell the heat here has really affected several of these drivers. Bobby taking the seat to get back some feeling probably after being in that race car. He's okay up walking around, but that's the reason for our caution here at Pocono International Raceway. We're getting ready for a shootout between Wallace and Steele. We'll be back to show that to you right after we take a quick time out here at Pocono.
Hey, race fans, Budweiser asks who won May 24th, 1992 at the Charlotte Motor Speedway. Not long after the start, Ernie Irvin in the 4 car drifted backwards, suffering from a misfire in the motor. While Irvin lost ground, Ken Schrader in the 25 moving to the front. And also running strong was the 42 car with Kyle Petty on board, showing strength after starting on the outside pole. The black cars of Davey Allison and Dale Earnhardt had the fans on their feet too as they battled lap after lap. But who won? Here's the list of contenders, the results when we return. Dale Earnhardt came out on top on this day. Here's how the event unfolded. Earnhardt was trailing the leaders, Petty and Irvin, by 3 seconds when the front runners decided to pit. After a nearly identical pit time by Petty and Irvin, somehow Earnhardt managed to turn his 3-second deficit on the track to a lead of more than a second. Kyle Petty led the most laps. Irvin came from 2 laps down, but neither could catch car number 3. It was Dale Earnhardt's 53rd career Winston Cup victory and his 2nd in the 600-mile classic. Who Won is brought to you by Budweiser. For that clean, crisp, cold taste, nothing beats a Bud.
1 lap till green at Pocono. Lap car up front. We look at Mike Wallace. He's going to restart 2nd behind Tim Steele, it looks like, at this point. We get ready to go green. Randy Pemberton on pit road. How did those pit stops turn out?
Well, everybody took on 4 tires, it appeared to me. Mike Wallace and the gang figured they had to stop because they couldn't make it on fuel. The last pit stop was like lap 27, so they figured while they're in, take on 4. It is now a race. We'll see what happens. You know, joining us here on pit road, the CEO and president for Syracuse Grand Prix, of course, this gentleman's name, Rick Leonard. Love to have you as a sponsor. We understand next year another sponsor. It's interesting having the sponsor of a race sponsor another race.
And we've worked very hard for this event, and we're going to be in Syracuse next July 21st at the New York State Fairgrounds, which every year they have a fair that draws over 1 million people starting the last week of August. And our event is going to be on a 2-tier track that part of it's there, and we're going to build part of it. It'll seat probably 70 to 80,000 fans, and most fans can see the whole race. Plus, we'll have the fairgrounds to have a multitude of other events going on.
Congratulations. Glad to have you associated with the ARCA Series, and hope you have great weather just like we're having here today in Pocono.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Darrell?
Field moving slowly through the tunnel turn here, getting ready to go green. Now everybody's got their tires and plenty of fuel, so this ought to be pretty much of a shootout, except we see one car with smoke coming out of it as they work out of the tunnel turn there. So that could put all this into a problem once again. That's the Dodge of Mark Gibson. Looks like he's coughed a motor.
Yeah, he has. He's down out of the racing groove. I think we'll still get a green. I don't think it's going to cause anybody a problem. That's too bad, because that's the only Dodge that we have out here racing right now.
And that's a pretty car. I got to look at that in the garage. Yeah. They've done a nice job putting that Avenger together.
It's an Avenger, and it looks like it ought to fly.
Not flying at the moment, though. Gibson out of the hunt. Starter takes a look at him as they come out of the third corner. Green flag in the air. 11 to go to settle this thing at Pocono. Ed Barrier takes him across the line. Leaders deep in the field now. Steele and Wallace are going to have to work hard to get through the lap traffic.
Well, this could be very interesting. You got a couple of cars that are really fast, the 90 and the 16, working through cars that didn't pit and didn't take tires on. So they're going to have to be real careful here. They're going to overtake cars at a high rate of speed, and guys aren't going to expect that.
Mike Wallace working up behind the 6 car. That's Perry Tripp. We haven't talked much about him today. Another dirt track veteran from the Midwest who's moved into ARCA in the last couple of seasons. Wallace, at the moment, not able to get up on Tripp as we work down toward the tunnel turn. Those cars moving by the 08 of Dale Kern. And here's Steele's progress through the field. Rather, Bob Shack, I should say, the 75. He is your leader at the moment, and he has led a race in every season going back all the way to 1982.
Hey, you know, Rich, the interesting thing, they got one of the poles here in 92, both poles with Bob Keselowski, and he won both races. And Jeff Purvis won both of them here in 93, and he won both races. Tim Steele won both poles here in 94. He won both races, and Mike Wallace has got a chance of doing it again this year. So there's always one dominant car in this series.
Steele now working by some of the other traffic, trying to move up and get back into contention. Less than 10 to go. We just put 50 up on the scoreboard. Only a 60-lap event. You saw Wallace scoot down into the corner, and here's Steele moving by L.W. Miller here. Do they have enough time, Darrell? Because Bob Schacht up front, Schacht and Ed Barrier and Andy Hillenberg have really kind of driven off.
Well, that's the chance you take by pitting and taking on tires, and the other guys stay out. I mean, only, you know, one guy stays out. He gets a big jump like that, and you're going to have to go like crazy. Mike, he's got his work cut out for him to catch him. And if there's a caution here late, then it's all for naught.
Steele is about 6 seconds behind the leader, according to our clocks up here in the tower at this point through the tunnel turn. Steele trying to get by the L.W. Miller automobile. Check that. I'm sorry, the 56 car there. That's Dill Whittemore. And he moves by Whittemore on the inside. He's got L.W. Miller in tow. As we take a look at the cars off of turn 3. These are your leaders now. Bob Schacht has put himself out in front of his Ford, with the 4-car Ed Barrier riding in second. The engineered components Ford of Schacht victories at 10 different speedways in ARCA. And Wallace moving up. He is getting himself into position right now. 2 seconds behind the leaders.
Yeah, I think Mike has definitely turned the wick up right now, and he's going after that 75 car. And I think he'll probably catch him here pretty quickly.
Wallace with fresh rubber on that car, and there's trouble. Perry Tripp backs hard into the wall. Tripp in car number 6 up right at the exit of turn 1, belts the wall a good shot and puts a big scuff on that concrete.
You know, he was, when Mike was trying to pass him there, that car was running pretty quickly, and he hit that wall hard then.
Tripp was running in 7th spot. He gets it refired down on the grass, trying to get up onto the speedway and get going again, but that's an awful lot of damage to try to bring that car back onto the surface, I would think.
Yeah, he's going to have a hard time getting that thing going because the fuel cell's laying on the ground.
Leaders racing back to the caution here at Pocono. Schacht and Barrier 1 and 2 as they take the yellow. Now that completed 52 laps. That may be only a few laps left here in this thing to settle it when we get the Tripp automobile off the racetrack. You're on board with your leader, Bob Schacht at Pocono. We'll be back with more on TBS. On board at Pocono with your leader, Bob Schacht, taking a sip out of that cool water cooler he's got with him. Schacht just riding with his hand out. Take a look at the Perry Tripp automobile, the WW Transport Oldsmobile. He got hard into the turn 1 wall to show you how this happened. Tim Steele on the inside of Tripp.
Oh, yeah, Steele got down on the apron and forced Tripp up into the loose stuff. And that's what I was talking about, these cars that got fresh tires versus the cars that didn't. They go by them so quickly. He took his position away from him. Steele did, and the 6 car got around, got backed up into the fence.
Tough break for Perry Tripp, who is doing nicely today, running 7th at the time of the wreck, 12th in points in his rookie season of 1994. Now, a big controversy here as we look ahead to tomorrow's Miller Genuine Draft 500, Darrell, for your Winston Cup Series. Rusty Wallace was unable to qualify, first-round qualifying yesterday. because he had problems with his roof flaps. They were not NASCAR-approved equipment. We talked to Rusty this morning to get a handle on exactly what was going to be the situation with his team. He was able to qualify for the show today, but Rusty has some things to say about what they found in that race car.
All it was the roof flaps that we designed ourselves. They were lighter, a little bit lighter by about 3/4 of a pound. It was made out of really high-quality titanium and really high-quality Kevlar. And NASCAR looked at it and said, hey, look, it's not an approved piece. And they agreed with me after it was all over. He said, we got to find you, but I will tell you, this is a superior piece from what I've seen. It's stronger. And obviously didn't do anything to increase the performance of the car or safety. Then the next question is why you do it. When the stuff came around about 1.5 years ago when we first started doing it, the original pieces that came out, we didn't like the way they looked. We thought they were crude and could be improved on. So it's what we did. We made our own. We made them really super nice, really high quality. And that was it. We've been running for about 1.5 years, 2 years now. And it's just this time we came through the tech line and said, hey, we don't like them.
I
think we don't like them.
That's $20,000 worth. I don't think that's the whole story, to tell you the truth. I got fined $5,000 last year for putting a little piece of tape on mine. And Bill France told me the next man that messed with those roof flaps in any way, tape, touch, or anything else, he was going to send him home. So I'm not sure what the rest of the story is here. That the pieces that they're using in that car would be lighter, which would be an advantage because it's up in the roof. But I believe Judge Lance Ito wouldn't have any problem deciding this case in just a heartbeat.
Well, Rusty Wallace qualified for the first time in today's second-round qualifying. He'll start 22nd tomorrow. The 11th row outside alongside your brother Michael, who was the fastest second-round qualifier.
Yeah, well, of course, they're not going to make the car any faster, but, you know, Rusty has had a couple of incidences like I have where he's got around backwards. And, you know, we want to make everything on the race cars as safe and as good as we can, but those flaps are sacred. That was a lot of time and energy and money and effort put into developing what's there, so they don't want anybody tampering with them.
That's a spec piece. Everybody has to run the same thing.
We all get them from the same place. Everybody puts the same piece in the car, and it's proven to work and hadn't had any failures. And it's not something that they want to open up a can of worms and let people start making their own.
And titanium, I think, is a substance that NASCAR very much wants to keep out of the sport.
Yeah, it's very, very expensive, and only a few teams could afford it, and that's a consideration, too.
Get ready to go back to green. There'll be 5 laps remaining to settle this thing at Pocono. Bob Schacht, as we ride inside, looking at Bob as he settles back. He's got the vent visor down. He's got the hose out of his mouth now, and we're ready to go racing here once again. Now, Mike Wallace, who led much of the show so far, will restart third. Ed Barrier will go second as they come up through the gears one more time. Starter saying, take it easy, boys. We've got time. Here's the green. 5 remaining at Pocono.
Well, I know Bob wants to get as good a restart as he can and get as much distance between himself and that 90 car as he can. And the advantage he has right now is there is a car between he and Mike Wallace, so that is an advantage for Schacht. But the 90 car is fast with new tires on. I don't think it'll be any problem for him to catch him and pass him.
Tim Steele back in 6th on this restart behind Andy Hillenberg and Ed Dixon. Dixon doing a nice job in the Kenny Schrader automobile as they come off of turn number 1. Your leader is Schacht. That's the red car, the 75. And moving into seconds 5. Here comes the car of Mike Wallace to the inside of Barrier. On pit road, Larry McReynolds, how good is that 75 car?
Well, I talked to crew chief Mike Mack on the Bob Schacht car, and they changed 2 tires back around lap 28, and they made a chassis adjustment to tighten the race car up. Now he's kind of sorry that they made the chassis adjustment, because a lot of times when you change just the right side tires, that will actually tighten the car up itself. So now the car is actually too tight, but they obviously did not want to see that caution. Okay, I'm going to go to Randy, who's down in the 90 car pits.
Yeah, there's a big discussion going on. People complaining, maybe 1 or 2 cars complaining the 90 car might be blowing some oil on the racetrack. I couldn't see it from down here as I went by. He's certainly running up the speed. That may be the only way somebody could beat him is to get him to come to pit road. But a lot of people are complaining about it, at least a couple cars. But NASCAR or the ARCA officials, as of right now, deem him to be okay.
Yeah, there's nothing on the windshield of Schacht's car, and not only that, there's a vapor coming off that car, all right, but I think it's moisture, and there ain't much of that in the air. That thing is flying.
And Tim Steele's car flying as well. You saw Steele just blow by Bob Schacht into the tunnel turn. So the top 2 cars in this race back where they've been much of the afternoon.
Well, now that 16 car has proven previously in the race that when he gets tires on, he's fast for 3 or 4 or 5 laps. So this thing ain't over yet.
But right at the moment, Wallace has about a 6-car length advantage as they come off the final turn at Pocono down the main straightaway. There will be 2 laps to go, this time by 2 to go. make that 3. I'm sorry, they put 57 on the scoreboard. So there are 3 laps remaining. Wallace leading Steele down into turn 1. There you see Shack in the red 75 in 3rd spot, and Ed Barrier, the 4 car, running right there in 4th. And those 4 cars have been the dominant cars here this afternoon at Pocono.
See how much higher the 16 car comes off of that corner? That just means the car is a little tight and he can't keep it on the bottom of the racetrack, and that's really hurting him as far as having a chance to catch Mike Wallace. But now I'll tell you one thing, he picks them up and puts them down at the end of that straightaway. He's got a little bit better package there than Mike does.
At the moment, Wallace's package strong enough to lead, but now Steele starting to close it back up again. They'll get the 2 to go this time by. And what's your strategy, Darrell? You're riding second behind a guy with a very fast car. Anything you can do?
Well, of course, first thing you got to do is catch him. Got to get up there and get to him so you can let him know you're back there. And then it's just a matter of driver preference as to how you're going to let him know you're back there and what you're going to do once you get there.
Very difficult race course here at Pocono. Of course, it's a tri-oval, 3 turns only, and the most difficult of them of all coming up here for these drivers as Steele moves to the inside of Wallace, but he doesn't have enough to nip by him down into turn 1.
No, he can pass. I'll tell you, if that 16 car can stay close off the corner, he'll pass him at the end of the straightaway. He's proven that every time, and I believe he's got to run at him this time, and it's going to be the white flag this next time by. So Mike's got his work cut out for him to hold this cat off.
Down to the tunnel turn. Lap and a half left to go here at Pocono in the Syracuse Grand Prix 150 for the ARCA Supercars today. Tim Steele in car number 16 chasing Mike Wallace in the 90. Wallace, the pole sitter, the winner here Thursday in a dominant performance. Not nearly as dominant today. Steele, we told you earlier in the broadcast, had some handling problems with this car that they didn't discover the reason for until after the race. They've fixed that and worked it, and now he's in great shape, and the white flag will wave. And Larry McReynolds, what are they saying in Tim Steele's pit area?
Well, there's a lot of excitement down here. The throttle return springs have broken on the 16 car, which means the throttle will not return back when he goes off into the corner. And I would say Darrell could elaborate a little bit on this. You drive down into turn 1 here and the throttle won't pull back. It's got to be pretty exciting.
Well, it is, and I'm sure he must have something in there to allow him to pull that throttle back. A lot of guys have a little toe strap that they got on their throttle in case that does happen. But I think right now that this could be setting up a great story. Well, I didn't mean to run into you, Mike, but my throttle was sticking. And so, you know, he might be setting himself up a real good alibi for this shootout here.
Well, it's less than half a lap to go at Pocono in the ARCA 150 today, the Syracuse Grand Prix 150. And we're glad you're enjoying the action with us on TBS. Steele in second in the 16, chasing your leader, Wallace, in car number 90. The 2 lead cars down into turn number 3 here at Pocono for the final trip around the oval, and Steele will apparently not have enough. He'll fail by about 3 or 4 car lengths. Mike Wallace is going to double up here at Pocono this weekend.
Yeah, that's 2 wins here at Pocono in 5 days. So had a great weekend.
And a battle further back in the pack for 5th spot. Andy Hillenberg over Mark Thompson in that battle as well, as we take you for a look in the Mike Wallace Barry Owen pits. 2 wins on the week, 2 pole positions. They battled back from some rough times on pit road earlier today. We'll tell you more about that when we come back to make the winner at Pocono. Back live at Pocono, the ARCA Syracuse Grand Prix 150 into the books today, and Mike Wallace goes to victory lane for the 2nd time in 3 days. And Darrell Waltrip, great broadcast from you today. We appreciate having you alongside, and great run from Mr. Wallace.
Yeah, it is. And, you know, I got to hustle out of here, get down on the other side of the racetrack and work on my car and see if I can get it to run like that tomorrow and be as dominant as Mike was. What a great weekend he's had so far. And, you know, his Cup car's running well, too. So I enjoyed it, Rick. We'll work together again soon, I'm sure, my friend.
Look forward to it. Thanks a lot. Good luck to you tomorrow in the Miller Genuine Draft 500.
Stay cool.
We will. We'll try to. You do the same. Let's go to our Pure Later Winners Circle. Randy Pemberton standing by to talk to Mike Wallace.
Mike Wallace, definitely a little hot in the car, but nice smile on your face. Going to take a little of that heat away. Congratulations. 2nd win this week in the ARCA Series here at Pocono.
Randy, can you believe this thing? I mean, it's a bad, fast, hot rod, as we said the other day. You know, I just can't say enough to the whole entire crew. Again, this was a new car on Thursday. We won there. We kind of got screwed up again on our first stop. We only went for right sides. Our gamble was go for 4 tires at the end, you know, which paid off. And Robert Yates, Doug Yates, that whole group, I mean, they built a power plant for us. The thing's great. Klausner Furniture, all their employees, Duron, Heilig Myers. I mean, you can't say enough. I mean, it's pretty impressive. You come here with 6 goals to sit on a pole, lead halfway both races, and win both races, and we accomplished all 6 of them. And I don't know, it's great. I wish Carl and the kids were here. They're back in St. Louis and hanging out there, but they know we won by now, so it's just a wonderful feeling.
Congratulations. Now you got to go jump in a nice hot Cup car for some practice.
Man, I could wait for about a couple hours before I do that, but we're going to have to do it pretty quick here.
Okay, Congratulations. Back upstairs. Rick?
All right, thanks, Randy. Our congratulations, too, to Mike Wallace and the Barry Owen team. Impressive performance indeed here at Pocono International Raceway. I'm going to show you some highlights of what's going on here at Pocono these last couple of days. The Week in Racing brought to you by Auto Week, America's only enthusiast weekly. As we take a look back, now these are scenes from the Thursday ARCA event here. Mike Wallace taking the checkered flag. Rerun of what we saw today, or preview really of what we saw today. There's your order of finish in the Equipment Supply 150. Ron Burchett, who fell out early here today, and Bob Hill, Ed Dixon with a nice 9th, and Andy Hillenberg a 10th. Now tomorrow, the Diller Genuine Draft 500 that you'll see live here on TBS. Your pole sitter will be this guy, Bill Elliott, in the McDonald's Ford. Elliott's first pole since March of '94, 42 races. Elliott and Martin the lead row, Shepard and Schrader the second row. Tomorrow, Bobby Hamilton with a good 8th. Ted Musgrave will start 7th. Joe Nemechek, another good qualifying run, and Rick Mast will round out your top 10 tomorrow when we line them up at 1 o'clock Eastern here on TBS. Now call 1-800-232-1522. Now get a 52-week subscription to Auto Week. It's only $19.95. Tons of information every week. Auto Week first with all the inside news of racing, the personalities, driving impressions, and more. Call now for Auto Week, 1-800-232-1522. This offer ends Monday, so don't delay. Get your credit card out. Make your phone call. Much more to tell you about here at Pocono International Raceway. Great to have you with us. Hope you enjoyed the action this afternoon. Many more stories to talk about before we leave you. We'll be back in a moment.
The ARCA 150 is brought to you by Castrol Syntec, the full synthetic motor oil that protects in ways other oils can't. By AutoZone, the best parts in auto parts. By McDonald's, have you had your break today? And by Busch Beer, the official beer of NASCAR.
Back live at Pocono International Raceway. Rick Benjamin, Darrell Waltrip is headed to the garage area to prepare his Winston Cup car for tomorrow. Randy Pemberton, Steve Burns, Larry McReynolds with us today, and we hope you've enjoyed our coverage of the Syracuse Grand Prix 150 for these ARCA Bondo Mar-Hyde supercars in action here today. The other combatant in that great battle that really went on all 60 laps was Tim Steele. He didn't quite have enough today. Standing by, though, with our Steve Burns.
Rick, wait till you hear about Tim Steele's wild adventure. You talked about that throttle sticking up. Tim, what happened? Tell the folks what you told us.
You know, it was after that last restart, went down into one there and went to get out of the throttle. The thing was stuck wide open. Throttle spring must have broke or something. Last 5 laps, ended up driving the thing with a shut-off switch, you know, but my hands off to my crew and everything. They did a great job. HSI, Ford, Simlink, Ford, Thunderbird ran pretty well. Just came up a little bit short, but, you know, we'll get them. It's good to be back and racing again. It feels excellent. Been out of the car for so long. It feels great to be back. Mike did a super job, though.
Well, you did a great job as well. Let's go back upstairs.
All right, thanks, Steve, and we appreciate Tim's strong run today. Former snowmobile champion. I wish he was probably plowing through the snowdrifts right now. I'm going to show you the top 6 here. Mark Thompson with a good 6th spot. He was in the hunt all day as well. And Tim Steele, a driver who certainly was in the hunt today and had a good shot to win. Our Liquid Wrench slickest move brought to you by Liquid Wrench. We're going to show you what we thought was the slickest move of the competition here this afternoon. And it involved the final pass for the lead. The 90 car of Mike Wallace a few moments ago, down on the inside, coming off the first corner. Darrell Waltrip said many times today how strong that car was off the corners, how well he could dig off a turn. And he showed it to you right there, getting by Bob Shack to take the victory today. I'm going to show you the full rundown, all 37 cars who took the green flag today, top to bottom. Your winner, of course, Mike Wallace over Tim Steele. Shack and Barrier, those 4 cars figured into the chase all day. Hillenberg and Thompson. Ed Dixon with a good run, and young Doug Reed out of Hueytown. Shane Doles with a good 9th spot. Harris Devane, who almost won earlier this year at Talladega, gets a 10th. L.W. Miller, who had a few problems, but a strong run for him in 11th, and Dill Whittemore. And we move a little further back in the field. Kern and Mike Wren, Gary Weinbrower and Jerry Hill from Maryland, Glenn Miller and Bob Dodds, another Maryland-based driver in the 09 car. And David Hall, Bob Hill, Jeff Marmack, Perry Tripp with that hard whack into the first turn wall. Sprint car driver Len Krautheim with a 24th spot today. Bobby Gerhardt had a great run growing for a long time, but his motor didn't quite make it all the way home. He gets 25th. Frank Kimmel, Bobby Boucher pulled out because of the extreme heat. Venturini and Glenn Brewer and Gary Bradbury, who started outside pole but didn't have enough to stick around. They had motor problems today. And then Jack Ely and Burchett and Blaze Alexander, who had a good run going. And Jeff McClure in car number 3 finishes 37th. Late driver change didn't work out very well. We take a look once again at Mike Wallace in victory lane with Barry Owen and his crew. Wallace will be back tomorrow, as will a bunch of other superstars when we'll bring you the Miller Genuine Draft 500 for the NASCAR Winston Cup Series. We'll have 41 cars take you to green tomorrow afternoon. You'll see it live at 1 o'clock Eastern here on TBS. Ken Squire will be along tomorrow with Dick Berggren, Chad Little, Johnny Benson Jr., and a cast and crew of thousands. I'll be down at the STP Pitt Communication Center. Hope you can join us live on TBS tomorrow. It's been a lot of fun to be with you today. Here, hope you enjoyed our coverage of the Syracuse Grand Prix 150 for the ARCA Bondo Mar-Hyde Supercar Series on TBS. We'll see you live from Pocono tomorrow. Stay cool this afternoon, and we'll see you in less than 24 hours.